Hi everybody. Hi everybody, it's your friend Daniel Hutchins. Yeah, it's Daniel Hutchins. We're back again and we're on our friend Screen Rant. Okay, so we're going to talk about Harry Potter. Yes, Harry Potter. This is a topic we've done many times on the Hut. So here we go. 10 Harry Potter characters that need to be explored in the next Hogwarts game. Yes, Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, they're going to make a second one. Okay, in the moment of everything we know about the popular game Hogwarts Legacy, the sequel remains mysterious. However, that hasn't stopped people from having an opinion on who should be next. All we know is that this will be a direct tie-in to the first game, but it doesn't necessarily mean the same characters or even the same time. The sequel could mean utilizing the same general map on plot focus and story mode, and story mode, free mode, all that fun stuff. But there's a chance that this could be the sequel that takes place in a different point of time, entirely different from different before. If that was the case, there's a chance we might get some more playable characters and maybe some cameos from the Harry Potter that we did have from the first game. However, there are plenty of characters in the Harry Potter universe that players are hoping to see. The Weasleys. Okay, they know some of the Weasleys, but they don't know all about the Weasleys. However, this is a very big family. In fact, this is the family that actually adopts Harry Potter. After the Dursleys were kind of like dicks to them. So, even though the Weasleys have a lot of older siblings, even before the parents themselves, who got very few screen time. For the most part, most did this because there were stories of Ron, Ginny, Fred, George, and even Percy. However, Bill and Charlie also remained mysterious beyond the brief mention, and their very small appearance in the Harry Potter game, Hogwarts Mysteries. Additional to that, we only know a little bit about Molly and Arthur, the mom and dad. I'd be very fascinated to see where they take Arthur and how he got love for items before he met Molly, and then then she becomes the mother of the Weasley bunch. Oh, yeah, the Weasley bunch. Okay, yeah, okay, sure. And then it feels like we've only gotten half of the story of this family. So I would absolutely love to see an opportunity to see the other half of the family. Yes, the other half of the family. Okay, the next thing that would be nice would be the McGonagall. Yes, McGonagall. She is one of the best professors at the school. But we want to know what happened to McGonagall. Yes, Professor McGonagall. Okay, Professor McGonagall was a very good professor. In fact, it's very sad that when she passed away, just that other year, it was very sad for all of us. It was. Professor McGonagall actually had a very tragic childhood and a very tragic early life, just like me. However, she was abandoned and she was set to marry and pursue the magic ministry career. However, she eventually did find love. However, that was until later, and this is also ended very tragic. She ultimately moved back to one safe spot she knew, Hogwarts. It's mentioned that only Dumbledore knew about her and how she very much suffered. And so, for someone who is widely beloved and she's very nice, she seems genuinely fair. She seems genuinely unfair in the movie. However, in real life, she's a really beautiful woman. Very beautiful woman. The actress who plays Professor McGonagall, though her character plays very unfair, in real life she is beautiful. And she's a significant piece to Hogwarts. Next, we need to know the story about the Longbottoms. Alice and Frank Longbottom. Yeah, we need to find out what's happened on with them. Frank and Alice Longbottom, the parents of Neville. Yes, Neville. Neville and his parents, Frank and Alice Longbottom. They were completely absent from Harry Potter movie. And there's a reason for that. Well, they are not really dead per se in the universe. They reside in some place before they were tortured by the Death Eaters, right when Neville was a baby before being sent over to Hogwarts. Since we only had a few glimpses of them of what they were in the First Wizard War, it would be interesting to see more of what happened to Neville's parents before they were tortured. Given that Neville also had an important story to the First Battle of Hogwarts, it could also have been chosen one. He also could have been the chosen one instead of Harry, but his parents decided to have such a courageous story shared instead, just like the one we saw with Harry, with his parents Lily and James Potter. Xenophilius and Pandora, Lovegood. They're too weird, but we need to have them. Okay. Luna Lovegood, also one of my other favorite characters. Luna Lovegood, she's a very beautiful character. Her parents and every bit of her is very strange as she is. However, we know more about this later. We never got to meet Luna and her mom, Pandora, who tragically passed away during the experiment of a new spell. Given that Luna had really good chemistry in the movies, even though we didn't get to see enough screen time with her, her parents share very strange things like she did, and I think it would have been incredible to explore more on her family and what would have happened with her in the younger years, especially given how much knowledge they know in the magic and the Ministry of Magic. It would like to be cool to see these two characters be easy to drop in a story. It'll make it interesting, and I would love to see if they can do that in Legacy too. Regulus Black. Regulus Black, he is a character from the Harry Potter universe who is perhaps the most most underrated character in the story. Regulus Black. Going back to the First Wizard War, one character that is really glossed over and skipped over is Regulus Black. Everybody knows why he loves Sirius Black. Sirius Black is the brother of Regulus Black. Regulus Black originally began as a supporter of Voldemort, eventually before he turned on him. And this is one of the reasons why he attempted to destroy the Horcrux. Not many people who served Voldemort turned on him or betrayed him, even though fewer than that are due to do so to live to tell the story. He does ultimately still meet the unfortunate fate while attempting to destroy the Horcrux. But this incredible character arc absolutely needs to get expanded, because Regulus is probably one of the most overlooked, overshadowed characters in the Harry Potter universe. And that's because, he's the brother of Sirius Black. Okay, Hogwarts Ghost. We would love to see the Hogwarts Ghost. Everybody already saw Headless Nick. We want to see more of the Ghost. We want to know what happened with the Ghost. More specifically, the Bloody Baron and Helena Ravenclaw, the Grey Lady, and for those who don't know, those actually share a rather tragic life story. So, after Helena stole her mother's diadem and ran away with it, her mom sent a Baron who was in love with Helena after her. When she refused to come back with him, he angrily took both of their life, leaving them both to haunt the ground of Hogwarts School forever. I don't know about you, but I think that'd be kind of cool to have that instead of pretend it's not there, because the ghosts are very cool. And, especially since those two have to interact with each other for all of eternity. I also think it would be cool to learn more about how, all the house ghosts and the ghost of the house of Hogwarts. After all, they're a very important part to the story. Now we need to know what's going on with the Marauders. The Marauders. Moony, Wormtail, Patfoot, and Prong. Everybody needs to know the Marauders. Okay, this one feels like it's been shut out of the void, mostly because this was only just brushed over briefly in this movie. The story of James, Sirius, Remus, and Peter, the infamous group called the Marauders. It's clearly stated that this group knew better than anyone, since this was, back when Harry Potter, his father, was in Hogwarts. So this feels like this is a no-brainer. So, especially since a lot of people feel kind of mixed about the Marauders, they are not depicted much, but they had a very small flashback in the movie. In the Prisoner of Azkaban. They had a very, very, very short scene. However, this would be a chance for Hogwarts to explain to us what happened to the Marauders. However, this would surely be able to fit into the rule-breaking shenanigan to our characters that might pursue the game. Now, we need to know about the founders of Hogwarts. Godric, Helga, Rowena, and Salazar. These are also important. This is because they are popular fan-requested characters from the last Harry Potter. Other than the fact that Harry was pursued the Horcruxes, the founders of the school were very sparse. So the four of those are quite literally the legacy on Hogwarts. That is why we have Hogwarts. It's time that we actually get to see how they originated. Since the history is not explored that much, we have the freedom to explore it. It overall makes the original story much better, but after all, the heart of it is all related to those founders. Dumbledore and his childhood. We want to know what happened to Dumbledore. Dumbledore had a lot of mixed feelings about Harry Potter. That's true. It doesn't mean most of us are dying to see what happened about his childhood, but again, it would be nice to see what happened to Dumbledore, especially since we saw him with his brother and Grindelwald. But nothing more than that. We want to know what happened to Dumbledore, right? I want to know what happened to Dumbledore. Being the one that's not the most powerful of the wizards, Albus Dumbledore is absolutely someone we need to know more on, especially given his importance to the school and being the headmaster. A story taking place during the time when he was a student in Hogwarts would be an excellent way to explore more on his story and his origin, and could also give us more depth and assist in us whatever journey we might have. Next, Tom Riddle. Yeah, what happened to Tom Riddle? Well, that was what we call the Chamber of Secrets. Yeah, the Chamber of Secrets, the second film. Tom Riddle. Well, they kind of had a little black story to him, but we want to have more. Although it would be nice if we can have Tom Riddle, aka Voldemort. He is one of the most prominent villains in history. We already know almost nothing about him, except if you watched the second movie, The Chamber of Secrets, or read the book of The Chamber of Secrets. A lot of details around his life was limited, aside from the mention we saw from his second movie. However, exploring his time in Hogwarts, we see him evolve into what we know the Dark Lord Voldemort. Everybody needs to know what happened, but not to mention to add so many layers to how he became the most famous Dark Lord of wizard history. Therefore, his memory is haunted by himself, Tom Riddle. Plus, he went to school with Hagrid, so that would mean we would have to enjoy Hogwarts life with him as well. Overall, there are hundreds of characters in Harry Potter universe that have deserved to get more screen time, but if they had their lore and their stories expanded upon, I don't think Hogwarts Legacy sequel should shy away from that. It's very important to focus every story character and how they're prominent to the franchise. I would absolutely love to see how they tie in with the universe. Just like you and just like the rest of the world, we want to see more of the Harry Potter universe. Despite the fact that HBO Max right now is taking a large risk and a huge gamble on trying to make a TV series. So, I'll see you later.